being honest. Okay. But when you are honest and transparent in a conversation, it allows things to progress in a much better way. Now, here's why. A lot of times we feel the need to make excuses to justify whatever the thing is that caused this conversation to happen in the first place.
Happy birthday to you.
Hey, welcome back to the No Half Cakes podcast. My name is Jim Sabelico, and welcome back to a Saturday edition of the show. Now, if you're new here, every Saturday I like to do something called a strategy sprinkle, which is meant to be a practical, tactical tip to help you level up in your personal or professional life. Other versions of the show, if you are new here, on Mondays I do a Mindset Monday episode. It's meant to give you a powerful, positive perspective to help you carry through the week. Wednesdays I do my long form version of the show. That's where I'll sit down with someone who's done some stuff in life. We'll talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. Those are typically my favorite episodes. If you have not seen those yet, I would highly recommend checking those out. But because today is Saturday, we want to get right into a strategy for you to help you level up. This week I want to talk about communication. Now, if you've heard me speak at all, you probably heard me talk about the four basic things that everyone needs to have in their basic needs. Those are what I like to call feeling loved, appreciated, seen, and heard. Now, those four basic things feel really simple. Okay, and again, I've talked in the past about people being able to feel those things, not just you loving someone, you appreciating someone, but them feeling that in return. Okay, and now one of the most important parts of that is going to revolve around communication. Okay, so how you communicate effectively is going to determine how able you are to accomplish that, leaving them feeling loved, appreciated, seen, and heard. Now, communication is what I really want to talk to you about today because it's such a simple thing that people don't execute on. And what I want to give you is just really a super basic tip, okay, to help you, because that's what this is about, is giving you something practical, tactical that you can go implement today in how to communicate more effectively. Listen, be honest. Okay, and it sounds really not groundbreaking, being honest. Okay, but when you are honest and transparent in a conversation, it allows things to progress in a much better way. Now, here's why. A lot of times we feel the need to make excuses to justify whatever the thing is that caused this conversation to happen in the first place. Now, a lot of times it's going to revolve around some level of conflict, whether person A and you disagree about a certain topic, or they might be upset about a certain thing and they need to talk to you about it. There's some level of conflict involved, typically. A lot of times we're going to start that conversation by saying, well, this is the reason why this, and this is the reason why that, and just deflecting and not talking about the actual resolution to the problem. Or we're going to look for all these different things to go different avenues rather than address the thing head on, because a lot of times it means taking accountability. But how much time are we wasting? And all you're doing, really, is agitating the other side. Okay, I very much understand the need to defend yourself in certain circumstances. I get it. It's a real thing. But ultimately what ends up happening is the other person already has their understanding of the situation. You're not typically going to change their mind in that moment. What's going to help you to de-escalate and move forward is going to take ownership of wherever you're at, even if it's not your fault. Again, I've talked before about fault being a thing that we don't really concern ourselves with because fault doesn't change much. It could be my fault, your fault, his fault, her fault. It doesn't really change the situation. The situation is what it is. What matters is who takes responsibility. Okay, so it doesn't matter whose fault it is that we got here. Are you going to take the responsibility to move forward? You should. Okay, so if you're involved in this, you have an opportunity to level up, to make everyone involved better off. Or you can play the fault game, the blame game, and just keep passing the buck until everyone else gets agitated and the problem never gets solved. Because I see it happen all the time. I literally saw it happen this morning. Instead, what you do is you don't worry about whose fault it is. You don't worry about spending 5 minutes of the conversation justifying why you're here and how come it's not your fault. You don't. You be honest and transparent. If you don't know the answer, you say, hey, I don't know. I'm not sure, but I'm going to find out. and then you go do the thing you said you were going to do. It's really as simple as that. If you don't know, say you don't know. Because the other people can see already that you don't know. So you lying and trying to cover for yourself does nothing. Okay, everyone else can see through the illusion that you're trying to portray. Everyone else can see through all those problems already. They can see that you have no idea, that you're just talking out of your butt, that you're trying to just make excuses for yourself, and you're getting us further and further from the solution. So can it be honest and transparent, take responsibility, and say, hey, I'm not sure, but I'm going to find out. Then go do the thing. Okay, because part of this is actually doing the thing you said you're going to go do. That's what effective communication is. It's saying a thing, meaning it, making sure that they understand what was said and what was heard, and then actually just going and do it. A lot of times people just want to have these conversations just to feel like I accomplished something by talking. Generally, no. You accomplish things by doing things. The talking part is just to allow you to be on the same page so everyone has a good understanding where you're at. Then you can go forward and actually accomplish things. We get stuck so much in this conversation part. We try and pretend that we're busy. We pretend that we're accomplishing things by having this conversation, that we fired off an email to get the ball out of our court and we sent it back to them. But then what? What have we accomplished? Have we moved forward? Generally, no. Okay? You need to speak less and say more. That's where we got to be as a society. We got to be able to show up and say things that need to be said, where people hear it, people receive it, people go do it. But if you're so focused on excuses, if you're so focused on whose fault it is, if you're so focused on how to defend yourself rather than just solve the problem, we can't move forward. Okay, so what I want you to do in these conversations, the next one you have that you feel this way, take ownership. Be honest and transparent. Jump to the point. Okay, skip the fluff. Skip the first 5 minutes of the conversation where you start making excuses and start justifying, and you start telling people, oh, this was a learning experience. They don't care. Okay, yes, you're allowed to learn. We get it. I'll give you the grace for that. But I don't want to spend 5 minutes hearing about how you learned on my behalf. It's not helping me. It's not helping you look better either. Okay, we understand the learning part. I'll give you grace for that. It's not an excuse. There's a very big difference between me giving you grace and you using it as an excuse. You can have grace for learning. Okay, no one's perfect, and I'm not expecting you to be perfect. I'm expecting you to be accountable. I'm expecting for you to be responsible. Those are very big different things. I need you to understand the difference between those. If you are not, ask. Let's talk it out. Okay, but if you want to execute communication at a professional level, and that's what this is about, right? We are not here because we want to be average in things. We want to be excellent in all things. That's our physical health, our emotional health, our relationships, our spirituality, our profession, and I'm drawing a blank on the last one. Okay, but there's 6 of them. Six of them. We want to be awesome at all 6 of those. Okay, I don't want to say the same thing twice. All 6 is where you want to execute at a level of excellence. And part of that's going to mean being accountable, being honest, and being transparent. It's simple stuff. Being honest. Okay, I drew a blank on the 6th one. I should know that. I'm honest with you. I'm not going to go cut it out of this podcast and pretend that I'm an expert. I'm a dude who spent 5+ years of his life focused on this. Pushing myself to be excellent in all areas as much as humanly possible and beyond. That's my goal. That's my standard. Okay, but I'm not perfect. I'll take responsibility for that. I don't care whose fault it is that I can't rattle off all 6 off the top of my head in this instance. Who cares? Execute. Okay, that's what you got to do. You got to execute. I want you to execute communication, to take responsibility, to make sure that people around you feel loved, appreciated, seen, and heard. And that goes into proper communication. That goes into communicating openly and honestly. Again, I'm going to talk Monday about the next part of this. Being offended. Because that's a huge part of this open and honest conversation. So I want you to make sure you pay attention to Monday's episode too, because it's really a part 2 of this conversation. When you show up in a conversation and you are afraid to be offended, you are not going to be as open and honest and transparent, because you're sitting there the whole time worried about what's this person going to say. You can't execute that way. So we got to level up in that area too. And on Monday, we're going to go into that. So if you haven't heard that yet, depending upon when you're listening to this, make sure you go listen to that as well. I love you. Go have an awesome rest of your weekend. Peace out.